So I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to call this video, like what type of video I'm going to call it, but there are, as I'm filming this, there are a couple of colours of the Nuvo Sparkle Sprays launching, brand new colours of them, and it dawned on me that I never did a sparkle spray video because I never had the original collection of colours. I have a few other different colours which you know, I can just show you now, but all of the cards that I wanted to show you with different kind of techniques of how you could use sparkle sprays, or you could transfer these over to mica mists as well. I thought I would just I mean, they're all going to be in the orange and reddy kind of colours, but I thought I'd just show you a few other colours that they come in. I think this one was one of the originals, Marina Mist, and the Morning Fog, and the Lavender Lining. I think they were all original colours, and then I think these two, Peacock Plume and Amethyst Shimmer, I think they were with Colour Trends themselves. Can't remember which ones, but I think they came out with Colour Trends. So there are lots of different colours on the market of these gorgeous sparkle sprays. But these are the two newest ones that are launching. So I wanted to just show you these. As I went a little bit over the top making samples with these, I thought I would just show you all the different techniques that I kind of was playing with along the way. So they were also bringing out this new stencil, so I'm not 100% sure on the name of it, but I'll put it down here because by the time I edit this video I'm sure everything will be released. So this is a gorgeous, like, it's almost like those interlocking rings, and I thought, well, because it is this kind of ring structure, I'm sure you could shift this off, you know, offset it from each other to make a really nice background. So that's what I did on this first one. So I actually had the stencil down on the card like this and sprayed the orange sparkle through it, and then I let that completely dry, and then I came back through and sprayed the red sparkle, and the names of them are Tender Peach and Jasmine Maple. So then I did the red over the top, and you get this gorgeous like offset kind of a pattern. And I also, to make it look less stark, what I tend to do with my sparkle sprays is water them down. I've got a few more of them to the side of me as well with the different colours, but I water them down. So basically you shake up your bottle really well so everything is combined in solution, and then you pour maybe like this much of your water bottle. So pour that much into there. You want to use small ones because you don't want to waste too much, and then top it up with distilled water. You can use normal tap water, but just be aware if you don't use it up within like a month, it can smell a bit stagnant and you could get mould in it. So I just tend to use distilled water because then I don't have to remember how long ago I made it. But that's how I like to dilute them. So it gives a slightly lighter colour, and it also gives more of a dispersion of sparkle, so it's not quite so like in your face. Because I think all of the sparkle sprays, I can't say for definite, but if you see on here, it's kind of silver, so the sparkle in them is kind of silver, but the suspension that they're in is the colour. And sometimes when they're concentrated, you see the silver sparkle more than the colour of the sparkle, if you know what I mean. So I like to dilute them because you get more of a true colour of the actual colour, really, because the sparkle's kind of more dispersed. So yeah, basically what I was saying before I went off on a tangent is I watered down some of this, and to make it less harsh in the background, I went over the top with some of the watered down orange as well, so it's not stark white in the background between the doubled up design. It's got like a light layer of orange, so it makes it blend a little bit nicer, I think. I'll try and go through the dies that I used on here as well. This is one of the sentiment headers that Tonic brought out not too long ago. And then the corner die from here is, which one is it? I think it's this one off of the packaging. This is the Wishing You a Beautiful Day layering die set. And I love these corners. They're just so gorgeous with like the butterfly designs. I love this sentiment in the centre. You'll see that pop up on a card in a minute. But really, really lovely. So I just used that on there in white just to sort of stand out from the background. I thought that was quite a nice kind of technique, offsetting the sparkle sprays through the stencils. So you do want to be a little bit careful that you don't overdo it with the sprays. Or if you are heavy-handed like that, you might want to use some kind of temporary adhesive on the back of your stencil so that it stays down and the spray can't seep underneath it too much. But that is a cool way of using a stencil twice and two different colours of sprays. then, oh yeah, because I was spraying the stencil with the red colour, and I then had some of the spray left on the stencil. So what you do is you take your stencil off to the side so it's not over your project. You take your water spray bottle, you do a really light mist from like far away so you get kind of like even droplets all over the stencil, and then you take your stencil with all of the ink on and you flip it over and you press it onto your card, and in some places all of the ink droplets that were on there blend together to give you a proper full design, and in other places where there wasn't quite so much ink you get this kind of outline design, which you can also go back in and watercolour, which I'll show you on another card later. But you're basically getting like an extra card out of it because you're not wasting the ink that was on the stencil, and then you can get another card out of it, and it still has that impactful shimmer on there as well. And I just finished this one off. This U is from one of the stamp clubs that had a gorgeous die set with a load of words in, and then I've just used some Dymo label on there to finish off my sentiment as well. So really, I think when you're using lots of Nuvo products, it's really lovely to have a day playing and then look through your stash of all of your dies that you have and pick out small dies that would work as kind of like a small focal element that maybe even have the sentiment in them and stuff as well. And then you can just make really simple cards that really show off the background and just have a gorgeous like simple sentiment or design on them as well. I really love doing that kind of thing, and you get a lot of cards out of it. I was making backgrounds yesterday for these, plus the colour trend that's going to be, no, that should have released by the time this video comes out. And I managed to get 14 cards out of all the different pieces that I'd just been playing with, and it's really lovely just to have all those backgrounds done and go through your stash of all your dies and just pick out random ones that you haven't used for ages or that you don't think are even going to go together, but when you've got them all die cut they look really lovely on a project. So yeah, really do make some fun backgrounds and then go and have a look through your dies. So basically that is the first generation from using the waste off of the stencil, and then this is the second generation. So you can see, because we've added more water, it's less sparkly, there's way less sparkle on it, and the colour is obviously way more muted because it's been watered down, but you still get a beautiful subtle effect on there as well. And this piece is off another background, which I'll show you the card a little bit later on as well, but I just had that leftover piece and I wanted to use it somewhere. And then again, these two words are from that Stamp Club die set as well. And you can't get that anymore, so I'm kind of teasing you by using it, but I really wanted to use it again, so I've used it quite a few times on these cards, but you might have it. I mean, a lot of you bought it, so, you know, you might have this set. Or there's other companies that do similar kind of dies as well. Okay, then the next one, oh, this is the card that is that got that piece cut off it as well. But anyway, this one I didn't make into a card, but this was me experimenting. I thought, I know some people struggle with this bleed through that happens on a stencil, so I was trying to think of a way that would prevent it, and then I decided to do something else and then I messed it all up because it bled under the stencil. But basically, a way to prevent the bleed through is to use a ink blending tool with a foam on it and actually put some of your spray onto your mat, make sure it's all nicely mixed, tip a little bit out onto your mat, load up your ink blending tool, not too much, keep patting it off so there's not too much on there, and then you can pounce through the stencil and you get a lovely, really crisp design on here. And then I was thinking, how am I going to make it look more like it was sprayed? So then I put the stencil back on and came back in with my diluted sprays. However, I was too close and then it did bleed underneath. But if you went a bit further back and sprayed it onto there, you'd get that speckled pattern. So it would look as though you had sprayed through the stencil. But because you applied it with the sponge, you get the really crisp detail, but you'd have that splattered look of the spray. But I just went too heavy-handed with it there. But I thought I'd just show you that idea of it. And then because I had this ink on the stencil, I then didn't want to waste this ink, so I did a similar thing and got the rest of the ink off, and you can see this portion is off of there as well. And then this one had actually done this kind of splotchy pattern all over. There was pretty much no filled in areas, it was all kind of gappy outline. So I just came in with a water brush and literally just watercoloured it in and pulled the colour in from the edges, and I also had a bit of spray on my mat and I just added a little bit of the colour in, and I think it just gives such a beautiful arty look. And I also sort of like watercoloury sort of did the edges. I splattered some more of the spray back onto there as well, and even sprayed this watered down one over the top of it to give it less of a harsh kind of look. And I just think it looks so lovely, and I think that worked really, really nicely. And having just the corner on your card, you could have got at least 2 cards out of the piece that I'd done. I mean, I ended up using one of the pieces on this card to do a border strip, but I could have like saved the other corner and done a similar thing. And then again, I just finished this one off with some of those dies from that stamp club as well, and also some Dymo label. I got this colour of a Dymo label in a multi-pack off of eBay ages ago, and I was like, when am I ever going to use that sort of maroony kind of a colour? I've used it so much recently. It goes absolutely perfectly with the Rustic Dusk mirror card from Tonic. It's a really nice colour to go with that, and I've been using it a lot recently, so yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. Sometimes you get weird colours of things and you think you'll never use them, but they end up being really useful. So yeah, that's that one. Then this one is, again, if you struggle with the bleed through under the stencil but you still want to use your sprays with some kind of stencil design, you can do an embossed resist with a stencil as well. So basically you place the stencil onto your background, and then I like to use the little mini ink cube from Tonic, and then you press all over, and then you add your embossing powder and heat set it, and then when you spray over the top it resists. So you kind of get the opposite look, as if you had sprayed onto the stencil and flipped it and got the pattern, but you've protected the other areas and heat embossed them. And obviously the sparkle sprays, you don't have to just use them with the stencil to do this kind of technique. You could have used a background stamp and stamped all over, or even a smaller stamp and stamped it multiple times to create a whole background, and then use the sprays over the top and it would have resisted. And also the spray comes off of embossing powder nicely. Some spray and inky kind of products, you think, oh, I'll let that dry and then the embossing powder will just wipe up really nicely, but sometimes it tints it a different colour, or sits on top, and you're really going to have to sit there and like scrub at each little area to try and get it off. But this comes off really nicely off of embossing, so if you've ever had that trouble, the sparkle sprays do come off embossing really nicely. And again, I've used more of those words from that stamp club, sorry about that, but I just really wanted to use them. So that is another kind of technique of using an embossed resist. Then this one, obviously because I had been, oops, just knocked over my sprays, because I had been using this ink blending tool with the stencil to try and get like a more of a precise look, I decided to do my kind of faux bokeh kind of a look by spinning the blending tool onto there. And then I thought, well, I want some smaller circles, but I don't have a smaller foam tool, so we've probably all got these empty lids off of your Nuvo Deluxe adhesive or any of your Nuvo drops that you finished a bottle of. I had the puddles on my desk from doing the ink blending, and I was twisting the lid in there, and sometimes when I put it down I just got the little like coffee ring kind of a look, but other times the product must have been like bubbling across the surface of here, and when I pressed it down I got a full circle. So I thought that was really lovely that I got a mixture of full circles and little half circles. And then I wanted to give it a little bit more of a arty kind of look, not just be the bubbles, but give the background a little bit more of an arty look. So I did a really fine mist of the watered down orange over the top, and then I took the uptake tubes out of the full strength of both of these and then just tapped them, and then you get all the little speckles over there as well. If you can't control the uptake tube tapping it, you can also just dip a paintbrush into there and then flick with a paintbrush as well to get that kind of a look. And the dies that I used on this, the sentiment is from the Bee's Knees Floral Scribble die set, which is a gorgeous square scribble frame with flowers and bees in there. And then the little bees that I used here, I'm sure Tonic have brought out lots of little individual bees, but for the life of me, my brain could not think of what die set they were in and where I would be able to find them in my craft room. But I came across this panel, which is the Botanical Bee patterned panel, which has hundreds of little bees in there. So I snipped them all out. I just realised I cut off their legs that are in the pattern, but anyway, he looks fine like this. And I just cut 2 of those little bees out. I used the Rustic Dusk card on their bodies, and I put vellum behind their wings as well. I just love that sentiment, you're the bee's knees, and obviously it needed a couple of bees to go with it. So I thought that would go nicely on that card. Just a little element to sort of finish it off. And again, hunting through your stash for different things that might work together. I mean, these came out at completely different times, but snipping elements out of this one and using them with the sentiment from this one works really nicely together. Even though they look like completely different styles, they still go nicely on a card. And then finally, I was also playing with shaving foam. So I've said this a few times when I've had, I don't know if when I've had sparkle sprays or aqua flows or bits and pieces like that in tonic craft kits, and I've said if you struggle with getting good impressions through stencils with products like that, you can colour shaving foam and scrape it through a stencil to give you that perfect stencil kind of look with a variation of colour in it. So I thought I'd actually show some samples of that in this video so that you've actually you know, seen it, and it will jog your memory of how you can use your sparkle sprays to do that kind of technique. So you just want cheap shaving foam. This is one I got from Poundland, like literally 5 or 6 years ago, and it's still, I mean, there's still quite a lot in there, and it still works really nicely. So you can get a can and have it in your craft room and do the technique whenever you fancy. But first of all, I wanted to do the scraping it through a stencil, and you can see how you've got patches where it's really intense sparkle and other patches where it's less intense. And the way I did this was I took the shaving foam, I put 2 dollops onto my craft mat. I then took these 2 bottles, carefully just tipped a few drops into the shaving foam. Then I was using the silicone spatulas just, you know, for ease of use, mixing it up into the shaving foam. So then you've then got a dollop of a light orange shaving foam. And then I did the same with the red one. So I had 2 piles, both coloured, and this will give a very subtle colour with a really tiny bit of shimmer into it if you scraped that straight through your stencil. However, if you want that variation of a really strong colour and the light kind of less sparkly areas, the way I did that was I then just took the bottle, did 1 extra spray of each of the sparkle sprays into their respective puddles of colour just on the top of it, and then when you scooped up some of the shaving foam to scrape it through the stencil, you just make sure you scoop a little bit of that full strength spray as well. So you scrape it up and then swipe it on, and then you get that mixture of tones of like the full strength and then the lighter kind of colours as well. And I just really love that kind of a technique, and it just gives I did actually nudge my stencil as I was taking it off. You can see there's like a double shadow line on all of it. So you should be careful and don't nudge your stencil like I did. And then you would get a much perfecter kind of impression from doing something like that. But it didn't actually smudge into the white areas. I just smudged it into the actual pattern areas, which is very odd, and I'm not 100% sure how I did that. But it gives a really lovely effect for your card, and that's where I use that sentiment from that other die set that I was telling you about earlier. So that is one way of using shaving foam, but I then had this shaving foam left over, so then I thought, why don't I just show you the normal technique that you would do with shaving foam. So basically, I took the 2 puddles of colour, I swiped them onto my desk, so I had like a flat layer of the shaving foam, and then I took the uptake tubes out of these and splattered all over, so I had little dots of the 2 different colours all over my pre-coloured shaving foam. And then I took a palette knife, just one like this, plastic one. You want something with this sort of a width of an end, it's like 5-6 millimeters wide, and then you literally just swirl through all the shaving foam, making sure the dots of the full strength colour are sort of mixed in with the pre-coloured shaving foam, and then you just press your card on top and you pull off the patterns. This is just the basic shaving foam technique, but doing it like this, you are guaranteed to have colour in your background because you coloured the shaving foam first, but adding the drops of the pure full strength colour and then mixing it in gives the marbled kind of a look. And so where there was concentrated areas, you get the concentrated colour and sparkle in there, and then where you've sort of marbled it around, you get that sort of gorgeous pattern from marble. So yeah, I thought I'd show you that one as well. And then the sentiment from this is from this die set, which is called Special Occasion Sentiments Always and Forever. I just thought adding a heart onto here would be quite a nice finishing touch for this card. So yeah, I think that's quite a cool technique, or two different ways of using your shaving foam. Thank you so much for watching this video. I think I am going to call it an up-close video because I kind of gave you an up-close look at sparkle sprays and what they can do, even though I was only focusing on 2 different colours and the stencil that's coming out as well. But I think it gives you a nice overview of different techniques that you can achieve with your sparkle sprays. And don't forget, you could do this with any kind of sprays as well. It doesn't have to just be the sparkle sprays. It can be the mica mist, it can be any sort of flat colour ink sprays that you already have, any kind of spray-like product. You can do all of these techniques with, and then some of them you can even do with other kind of inky products as well, like ones with pipette tops to them, especially with the shaving foam technique, or even with ink pads. This kind of technique where you print off a stencil, you can do this with your ink pads as well. Not the Nuvo ones because they are hybrid ink pads, but any of your water reactive ink pads would work really nicely. And obviously with your embossed resist, you can do that with anything. It doesn't have to just be sparkle sprays over the top as well. So I hope you enjoyed this up-close video and all of the different techniques that I've shown you in it. I know it is focused on these 2 colours, but there are plenty more colours of sparkle sprays in the tonic line that you can get. There's more than this as well. I think there was 6 original colours plus maybe 3 or 4 from different colour trends, and then these 2 brand new ones as well. So loads of different colours for you to choose from. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching till the end. I don't think this video was too long. And I'm sorry that I used dyes that you can't get hold of anymore, but I just really wanted to use them. So, but I mean, you probably got them because a load of you have got them. So I'm sure you've probably got them, or something similar, maybe just some alphabet dyes or something. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!